the best Christmas horror movie?
Well, you know, when it comes around this time of the year, December, what do you really want? You don't want to watch like a film with Santa in it. You don't want to go, oh, let's sit down and put on Muppets Christmas Carol. No, you want to go and enter the world of Alien and maybe go and visit LV-426 or something around those parts. Because Prometheus is a Christmas film, yes, because our Lord and Saviour Idris Elba puts a Christmas tree up on the table, so that proves it. Discussion over. Anyway, this film, going into it, it's like, why do we need a prequel to Alien? Why do we need to be explained to? Why do we need all this like religious sort of imagery rammed into it by Ridley Scott? Turns out that the film is like a Marmite film. You either love it or you hate it. I kind of like it. I don't know why. I think it's because I just find everything to do with the xenomorph and all the things to do with H.R. Geiger's imagery just to be terrifying. Every time I see something new, I'm just like, ooh. But yes, get to Prometheus. They get to the planet and all these weird slugs are in the mud. Like, oh, what's going on here? What's going on here? These guys, they're lost. They've been chased by what seems to be a scary sort of force. They're in the space fridge. These sort of worm things come out the floor. Yeah, worm things like that. He goes, oh, what's that, what's that, what's that? Grabs his hand and proceeds to break his hand, wraps around his arm, snaps it some more. I have to close my eyes every time this comes on. I just can't look at it. And you hear it, and then it goes in his suit and down his throat, and you're like, can't get any worse than that, can it? No, just later on, the main character gives birth to a giant space squid, and that assaults a big spaceman. And since I saw that film, that whole assault of the big spaceman has been forever burnt into my brain, and I can see it now, and I really don't like it. But I like watching Michael Fassbender movies, so I watch it all the time, and then I watch it again, and I see that the big space squid assaulted the big spaceman, and that's why I'm really scared of this film. And it's a horror movie at Christmas because there's a Christmas tree in it. So it's a Christmas movie.
My favourite Christmas horror movie is The Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, people will say, is that a horror film? Yes, of course it is. It's about a pumpkin king and ghosts and skeletons and stuff. And Christmas is scary enough anyway, so all Christmas films are technically horror films, in my opinion. If you don't believe me, show your uncle where the rum cabinet is. And it's just, I love that film. And it's so, it perfectly, like holiday films are just a mess. Always. Like Halloween films are really, there's so many cliches. And Christmas films, there are so many cliches. And yet this film doesn't really do any of that whilst at the same time doing every single little bit of it. Like, it's a story about a man who was bored and really bored and decides to ruin Christmas purely for his own amusement. And yet, over the process, he discovers that what Christmas is really about is not his selfish desire to not to be bored and to kidnap the Santa Claus, but it is instead to discover family and to discover love and to bring everybody together and have a lovely time. And to anybody who's not seen that, I would say look in the mirror. Jack Skellington is you. It is you. It's about everybody who's like, oh, I can't believe I live a Christmas this year. Then it gets to the 23rd and they're like, oh, want to do a pork stuff and roast with me, ma'am. It's me, basically.
What is the best horror Christmas film?
Now, hear me out here. Love Actually. Granted, it's not Prometheus or A Nightmare Before Christmas or anything like that. And it's not even a horror movie because of Alan Rickman buying that whore a necklace. But it is, of course, because of that scene with the weird bloke going to his mate's his mate and his new wife's house to declare his love for her. What is all that about? Right, okay, I got married this year. It's my greatest fear that someone shows up at my house who's been weirdly filming my wife throughout our wedding day. Probably Cleary, let's be honest. But right, shows up and declares their love for her. And it's meant to be all like, oh, well, yeah, he says, I know this doesn't mean anything, but I just want to tell you that I love you. Well, what's the end goal here then, you weirdo? Showing up, making these weird signs that have somehow now become politicised, so the Tories and Labour can be like, oh, vote for me this year. Piss off, right, with that. And just a bit funny. Oh, look, it's funny. It's an old woman. I don't care if you look like this. I love you, really. Yeah, just so happens she looks like Keira Knightley, though, doesn't it? Yeah. I tell you what, right? Granted, the rest of that film, it's got Rowan Atkinson in being hilarious in other scenes and what have you, and Hugh Grant dancing around. But it's a horror movie purely because of that scene combined with the bit where he's showing her the footage where he's been filming just her face on the wedding day. And he thinks like, oh, She'll never find out about this unless she comes round and, I don't know, opens her eyes. So I'll tell you what's his name? I don't know what his name is in it. He's the bloke who, does he get eaten by zombies? I've never watched Walking Dead, I'm scared of zombies. But I'll tell you what, you want a sign, I'll give you a sign. Merry Christmas, you creepy.
There's only one answer for this, Simon, and that's Black Christmas. Not the really awkward 2000s remake with the cookies and they eat them, because that's just a bad time all around. But the original Black Christmas is a stunning, influential work of horror that takes one of the most, one of those urban legends that just constantly gets under my skin, and that's of the babysitter and the man upstairs. And that always gets me. It got me in when in A Stranger Calls. It gets me here. And in terms of just how influential and inspirational this film is, it's absolutely, you know, it's a legendary work of cinema, and it's still genuinely terrifying. I think the actual It's difficult to quantify just how important this film is. I think it obviously it kickstarted along with Psycho as one of the fathers or mothers of the modern day slasher genre, and everything about it just still really, really scares me. Like the posters of just the woman in the rocking chair with the bag over her face and obviously the knife and stuff. It still really gets me, and I think there are certain outdated elements of the film. Of course, there are, it was made in the 70s, but at the same time, it still really, really gets under my skin, and there aren't many horror films that really linger with me. I think that and Halloween are probably one of the only two that really, really do kind of stick around in my mind and really have me kind of looking and checking the cupboards when I'm home alone at night and like making sure that everything's fine and everything's in its right place because I'm worried that someone's going to be in the attic and they're going to kill me and put a bag over my head and then go with the stabby. And I don't want that, especially not on Christmas. It's not very Christmassy.
What is your favourite Christmas horror film?
Right, so I had to think about this one a lot because the things I like from horror and the things I like about Christmas films are generally quite different things, but there's one film that does kind of both of these things, and that is Gremlins, because from Christmas, I want to hear about morals, I want to feel good, I want to have a great time, and with horror, I just want to feel a bit gross. A bit like, why did I watch this? I'm a bit messed up for actually wanting to watch it. And I think it perfectly manages both of those without at any point feeling a bit too gross for Christmas or a bit too non-Christmassy. I think it's quite good, a good balance. And I also like the idea of it just being like, take care of the presents you get at Christmas. If you don't take care of that puppy, they're gonna get you. They're just gonna grind you into the dirt. I think that's a good moral for kids, to know that that dog will eat you.
Definitively, the best Christmas horror film is Krampus. Like, there's no getting around it. 2015's Krampus, to be specific, because there's plenty with the Krampus name on them. But it is the best film because it has the Christmas cheer of a bit of dark comedy, but has all of the horrible, visceral scariness that Christmas brings with capitalism and families arguing with each other. So it's basically, Krampus is basically the Christmas baddie. He's the bad version of Santa Claus. He comes around, smacks up kids that have been naughty, and basically just makes your life a living hell if you don't have the Christmas spirit. And guess what? This family doesn't have the Christmas spirit. The young boy doesn't have the Christmas spirit. Krampus comes along and says, hey, there's no Christmas spirit here. Time to get smacked up, and unleashes his elves and these presents that are full of demonic entities that are his Krampus minions. And the most horrific of which, you need to watch the film to get the full impact of this, but Der Clown, the Jack-in-the-Box, whose face unhinges to swallow people whole. It is rancid. It is, but it's one of the most lasting memories a horror film has given me in like recent years. This person being swallowed whole by a giant Jack-in-the-Box. It's horrible, but it's such an effective horror film set at Christmas. Like, it has all the things you want. It's got the Christmas like snow. It has all the spooky parts of winter, because I feel like winter is inherently a scary month. It's dark, it's cold, it's snowy, you don't know what's going on. All of these horrible things are happening in the world. Like, everyone tries to cover it up with like Christmas, woo, lights and everything, but people are dying. And the Krampus just brings around that sort of horrible feeling of, oh, we should be grateful for what we have, and if not, we're going to end up in what amounts to be a very hellish experience. So Krampus it's a fantastic commentary. The opening, the ending, all of it, just watch it. It's fantastic. It's a great commentary on Christmas and that warm Christmas feeling that we should all have that doesn't always come around, but by God, you'll be scared if it doesn't, because Krampus is going to get you. So yeah, watch it.